Welcome to another unit in this course on economics. This time I'm going to talk about the so-called multiplier and accelerator effect, which happen if we have usually fiscal policy being realized in the context of an ISLM model. Could work in a Mundell-Fleming model as well, but let's start here with the simple approach with the ISLM model. Here, first off, we have the multiplier effect. The basic idea of the multiplier effect is if the government, for example, spends more money due to an increase in government expenditures, this money is not used up once it's spent. It's creating additional income for either workers being employed by the government or companies being paid for some type of good they deliver to the government. So this creates income, which even though it's taxed, still might be spent again in part. So it again generates new income with other people, which again spend part of this. So there's like a cascade of the income, while even decreasing with each step, being spent again and again and again. And that's what we call the multiplier effect. We have higher aggregate income with households and or companies who in turn again spend part of this, leading to additional higher aggregate income, spending again, higher aggregate income. It's decreasing with each cycle, but well, if we consider the multiplier effect as a whole, it's simply the overall effect after this spiral has come to an end, after there are no visible effects anymore. So it's basically the sum of all multiplier effects combined. Well, that's the first of the two effects. The accelerator effect is slightly different. Here, we can assume that if the government spends more money, then, well, we have higher aggregate income, which also where the multiplier effect leads to additional spending. But let's stay with the government spends the money. Then the goods the government actually gets for this need to be produced. Meaning we need firms who actually produce these goods. If the firms are at the moment producing at their maximum output, so assuming we have an equilibrium situation, we have realized our production potential or used our production potential to its fullest, then the firms need to invest more to grow, to actually satisfy the higher demand. This in turn again will increase demand for those products the companies need to actually invest and grow. So they demand more, we have an additional shift in demand. Well, the same thing goes as an interaction with the multiplier effect, as I mentioned. And well, I said here always it's about higher government expenditures. Well, the same thing works if instead of higher government expenditures, we assume lower taxes. Because with lower taxes, households and firms have more money available, can therefore, due to their higher aggregate income, spend more. And well, multiplier effect starts. If they spend more, there's an overall higher demand, which leads to firms having to invest more, and us getting an additional accelerator effect. So, doesn't matter which type of fiscal policy we consider here. In either case, we will get a multiplier and an accelerator effect. So if we want to illustrate this graphically, first off, we start with our original equilibrium situation. Then we have the direct effect, moving the IS curve to the right. Then, the second part, we get a multiplier effect, and we get an accelerator effect. That's the three parts here. And usually, if we say, well, fiscal policy has a positive effect, we mean the sum of all three effects combined. So here usually you would only see IS curve 1, IS curve 4, and the shift from this equilibrium to that one. And of course, here I always talked about expansive fiscal policy. We can do the exact same thing for restrictive fiscal policy, then the whole thing would work backwards. Well, that's then everything there is on multiplier and accelerator effects. So this concludes the session, and I say goodbye and see you next time.